Hello and welcome. Here we are again. My name is Juan, here with Marc and Kevin, and we are three men who like movies. And we are gathered here to discuss a selection that was chosen by Marc. It is a Polish film that can be found on Netflix currently. It is called The Getaway King. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. The protagonist, who right off the bat, I will say I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. So I'll either call him the protagonist or the king, as he is the getaway king. Apparently, this is based on a true story of the man who apparently was a kind of like a small time crook and escaped from the grip of the police um, something like 27 times. He and his crew of four bandits all together did everything from robbing supermarkets for the American products, and this is also during socialist Poland, so that's important to note. To eventually moving up to to stealing cars, and many times, him ending up in jail or almost in jail or in prison, and somehow finding new and creative ways to escape every time. He then falls in love, wants to get out of the game, and things go to hell at that point for him. So yeah, that is my quick synopsis. Marc, why don't you start us off, since this was your pick, by telling us just your initial impressions of The Getaway King?
All right, thanks. Hey, I have to say, it always makes me laugh when you start this off. You always sound a bit disheveled, like the hood's been ripped off your head, and now you have bright lights in your face. And you're like, all right, you're live, and you're like, we're back. And
Uh-huh. It's my style. It's unique.
yeah, I know it gets you every time. Um, so for this movie, I will just I can say that this is going to be one of the movies that I think of when someone asks like for a roller coaster type movie. Because this movie started off one way and ended off completely different. And it was interesting. It was an interesting ride. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Kevin?
All right, all right. Here we go. All right, so The Getaway King is a movie that seems very familiar yet uniquely its own at parts. It was very stylized, full of some fun shots, enjoyable moments, a gratuitous sex scene, colorful characters, some twists and turns that make you wonder how they're going to wrap it all up. And I think that's the part where this movie ultimately fails. It doesn't really stick a landing, and there's more that we could say about it. Like, it's in the movie, he's compared to Robin Hood, but his story actually reminded me more of Billy the Kid in Young Guns 2, where it's about a man who becomes a sort of modern folk hero bandit that dies, but the death is left a little ambiguous. But unlike Young Guns 2, this movie ends up just serving up an obvious feel-good ending instead of leaving it up to the viewer to decide the final fate of the character. And I think that's what ultimately like leaves the end like lackluster. And those were my feelings about this movie, and we'll expand on it as we go along. But there you go.
Can you repeat that last point?
Which part?
It's very interesting.
Which part? Which part?
You did.
You give me a word, and I'll start from it.
You didn't like that they didn't leave it up to the audience to decide what happens?
Yeah,
What did you say?
like
That's
have
exactly
y'all
what I'm saying.
have you gentlemen ever seen Young Guns 2?
No.
But
First of all, Juan, you have, so I'm not even going to believe
No,
that
Jerry
because
has.
you
I
watched
have
it with
not.
me. No, you watched it
No,
with me.
Jerry has. I have not never seen Young Guns 1 or Young Guns 2.
And
ooh,
I
but the
mean, that's
fact
where the
that you
story.
did is too.
That's
Pretty
where I
good.
got the story when I would deal poker about the cat chasing its own tail.
Okay,
But
I didn't
anyway,
know that.
but you
That's
saw
why
it.
I
You were
laugh
young.
so much when you tell that story because I've never heard it before.
I thought you laughed because you saw the movie. I'm like,
No.
how have you not seen the movie? But anyway, but okay. So what it is at the end of Young Guns 2, right? Billy Kid gets shot, or you don't see it's off screen. He gets shot. They're at the funeral, and they're all feeling whatever, and then you see someone steal like this guy's horse, and like in the movie he had said like, oh, I never steal the horse from a person I never liked, so you don't know if it's Billy the Kid, he still lived, and blah blah blah, right? But in this, like, yeah, he faked his own death, but then they just serve it up like, hey, look, I'm here, missing a hand, and then all right, we're gonna have some party, and it was just, to me, it just, the movie just petered out as opposed to like having an ending that it built up to.
Okay. I mean, it is. I think it is based on a true story, so maybe.
Well, no,
it's a true story. You're like disappointed
whoa,
with
whoa,
the story.
no, but here goes. Based on is actually different than it. This is a true story,
Yeah.
and when you look at it, it is based on a true story, and the guy dies in the crash in the true story with two little kids, because I went and read this guy's history, so it's based on a true story. It's not an actual true story.
Right.
So there's events in it that are based on it.
What crash?
And that's why. What?
In the movie? You're saying in the movie there was, well, what crash did he die in?
Oh, well, the final crash where they found his hand.
Oh, he
You know what I
died
mean?
in that.
Like in real life, he dies, and that's why like I thought it could have been left more. And I found that out later, but like I still didn't like it when it happened in the movie. I was like, oh, okay, it's just a happy story. You know what I mean? They wanted to serve up a little happy love story, and to me, I thought it was like, that was okay. I thought it would have been a little better. Like, oh, did he? Even when it happened, I was like, did he die? Did he not? And like, I thought maybe the girl would go away and she meets up with someone we don't see, something like that. Anything. I just thought it was just, they tried to wrap it up with a nice little bow, and I think that's what to me made it seem more lackluster than just that last part. Like the rest of the movie, I thought was great. Just the ending, I didn't think it really stuck it very well.
Okay. No need to defend at this point. I was just asking you to kind of explain that point, but yeah. But I appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you.
I don't disagree. For me, impressively stylized. Great camera work, great editing. Really, really enjoyed the style of it, and well done and entertaining. Definitely with the plot, and I'm not sure. Maybe like I felt like the pacing throughout, just narrative arc for me is not as polished as what we are accustomed to, and so that's where I deducted points. But it was entertaining. I mean, I enjoyed most of the characters. For me, when the bad guy actually appears in the movie, who was someone who had been there all along, but transitioned into becoming the bad guy in a very dark way. But that's really when I perked up. That's really when I was like, okay, this just got interesting. Because even before that, I mean, they're doing the heists. He's getting thrown in jail. He's escaping. It's funny. The first, like, the news reenactment of his escape was hilarious.
Beautiful.
Dude, it was brilliant.
Pure gold.
Yeah. And so these things are happening, but you still don't get the sense that the story's moving. He falls in love. They're doing more heists. He's getting thrown in jail. But throughout, I'm kind of like, where is this going? But once the bad guy arc reveals itself, then it's really like, oh. And even though, again, it wasn't perfect, I would have preferred they spent more time kind of delving into that character, because it brought this balance that the film really needed at that point, where it took a more serious tone, a darker tone, and it really balanced well. Even gave more shades to the main character, right? That now he had this issue and this relational dynamic that he was trying to balance. And so I again, I really perked up at that point, but still kind of fleshing out and really filling in um, all those plot points, so that they're packed in really tight and kind of polished and delivered really well from a writing standpoint, to then just the storytelling. It really, yeah, just doesn't have that sort of finesse and you know yeah, quality that we're used to seeing from most of the movies that we really enjoy. So yeah, I guess I would say lots of really, really good elements. Definitely not a movie that I feel like, oh, I hated it, it was terrible. I appreciate what they were trying to do. Interesting story, good characters. But yeah, definitely, you can tell this was yeah, not some of the good things that we get sometimes from Hollywood, for example.
I will say this movie had the best sex scene because that was the most interesting, the way they did it. Like, it was gratuitous, obviously, because of all the different positions they showed, but the fact that it was only on for a couple seconds and then it moved to another screen or another area, and then you kind of have to like look for it, and then you're on it for a split second, then it moved. It didn't feel over, it didn't feel like, okay, they're just shoving sex down our throat. So I really, even though I always feel like sex is unneeded in a movie, this just made it feel interesting the way they shot
it was well done.
Yeah, it was very cool to. I don't. Yeah, I guess it was cool to watch them have sex.
Yeah. I mean, it was still, I think, in a way, kind of more tastefully done than raunchy,
Yeah,
which again, I mean, was something. But even then, and I think even you see it during one of the dance scenes at the club where they're using a lot of slow motion,
hmm
um, was really cool. Just again, a cool thing to see. Again, stylized and kind of, I think even what they were doing with that even really fit, who the character was, because I don't know about you guys, but he really had like cool appeal.
yeah,
He
yeah,
he was a charming guy. He was a handsome guy. He was a silver tongued guy, who was pretty smart, I guess. I couldn't really
he was like
tell.
good at everything.
Yeah, exactly, for
No,
sure.
seriously, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there was nothing he couldn't
Yeah.
do.
Well, and that's why, like, I couldn't tell if he was just really smart or if it was like he was just in the right time, right place, where like law enforcement was just so shoddy that it was almost like, why isn't everyone escaping?
Yeah,
Like he all he had to do was like pick his handcuffs that one time and put on a police officer's uniform after he headbutted the detective,
yeah,
the knockoff Russell Crowe uh, detective, to just walk out of the police station, even though I mean, he seemed like his facial features and his haircut and his mustache would be instantly recognizable. But when there's like I mean, it's not $2 million, whatever um, their
yeah.
their money is, but there was a big reward, and like he never even tried to change his appearance whatsoever. So he also was pretty bold, but yeah.
It's funny how those work. The more brazen, the easier it seems.
Yeah, people are you start to learn that a lot of people aren't snitches.
Mm.
Or paying attention.
That too.
Well, I mean, I think that again, it's important to note there the circumstances that they were in, where in the movie they do mention at one point that he was like a Robin Hood, and
Yeah.
and therefore I think, yeah, people around him, or that common people around him were not super eager to sell him out, because he was in a way doing something for them, because I think those goods, it says at the beginning, the American goods were only available at those supermarkets, and they were expensive, or I don't know if it was socialism then. Did the government hand out food? I didn't look into it that much of what that was like, but
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I think
I'm
it's.
not sure.
I was gonna say, like, a scene when I was talking about the main guy. When they broke in, him and the kid broke into that one store. He's just smelling cigars very slowly, and the kid's just going super hyper behind him. Like,
Yeah.
it just showed, like, to me, it's just like, I didn't realize at the time, but looking back at it, it just showed how he was like different than everyone else. And even with the hyper kid moving around, like, it just foreshadows who he's gonna become later. Like, when he got pushed out the house, he starts glitching and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but it just shows how the main guy is just like, he's always calm in every situation. Like, he's always calm, he's collected.
he reminds me of Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Dude, so what's funny? Literally at the last scene when he slides his nub on the table, that immediately felt like a Fantastic Mr. Fox scene.
Yeah.
Bro, I was dying laughing. I pictured like a fuzzy paw just coming out, bandaged up. I don't know why, but I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, and so to give it away, and to, fill people in who might not run out to watch this movie, the last time he gets caught, his girlfriend, begs him to stay and do his time, so that when he gets out, he'll be a free man, even though it's like 10 years. But she says, behave well and you'll have your time shortened. He does that, and then the regime gets toppled, or no. Oh, yeah, the regime,
Yeah, it does.
the regime gets toppled. So then the new government, he asks them for a pardon, they give it to him, he gets out. But now his enemy, who's now become more powerful, wants to, actually threatens his family, and beats up his girlfriend. So he goes to get revenge on them. That ends up in a car chase where he had planned to fake his own death, which is what Kevin was alluding to, which included him chopping off his own hand so that his DNA would be discovered. There would be no question that it was him who died. And I mean, I thought that was bizarre, but also like really poetic, that he was willing to do that, whether that happened in real life or I guess that didn't happen in real life if he died in that crash. But even in the dramatization in the movie, like,
The only thing left behind was his hand.
yeah, and even like, because his motive was love, so even like the literally saying like, I gave up my hand for you. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. But also like, yeah, that's a lot to it seemed, just because it seemed like, what were there no other options, what than to do that, than to chop off your hand? You
I mean,
could,
a foot, bro. What would you rather do, a foot or a hand? Would you rather game?
I mean, like, the tip of an ear or something. Wouldn't
I
that
mean,
have?
but what are the chances of just the tip of an ear surviving?
But
If
you can't
I'm
get
in a car
fingerprints off
crash
that.
and something gets sliced,
If there's blood on it, it's DNA.
I don't think they were doing that much DNA in 1994.
80s.
No, it was 94 when that part
Oh, when
happened.
he got out. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You don't think
I know.
DNA tests
Well,
were
I don't think they were big. I don't think. Listen, OJ got off, buddy. OJ got off.
in Poland? All right,
you couldn't buy them at the dollar store yet.
that's true. Another thing, I really again, it's all about in the choices, right? Because it's like, I wish they gave us more of this, but I also don't necessarily want to watch this for 2.5 hours, so it's just about the choices. But I really liked his crew and would have liked to have spent more time getting to know them a little bit. The girl seemed really interesting. The guy who all of a sudden became a politician, um, I would have, liked to have spent, a little bit more time on them. What happened to, so I thought the first girl he was hooking up with was his girlfriend, but I guess she was just a hookup.
I
Yeah.
think she was a hooker, wasn't she, or something?
Oh,
Was I wrong on that?
She might have been, yeah.
Could have been I don't know.
Hooker's
I
not
don't-
hooker's not the most sensitive word, Kevin.
No, Lady of the Night. Come on.
A practitioner of the world's oldest profession. I
Yeah,
don't know.
a working woman, working the graveyard shift
We like working women.
on the graveyard pole.
So let me. It's funny, but are you still there, guys? Did I lose you?
Yeah, man.
Well, we're
I'm
quiet.
listening to you. You're talking. I'm listening to you.
I was gonna say, I wanted to mention one thing. Sorry, because my mind got. Well, we were talking about hookers and prostitutes and streetwalkers and the world's oldest profession. And this is totally. I don't know why my mind went there, because we mentioned the stylization. There was a lot of lens flare that bothered me for some reason, and for some reason, Hooker reminded me of lens flare. And I was like, man, J.J. Abrams would be envious of this movie, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I only felt like it was the that dance scene that was the biggest perpetrator for me. I didn't feel like other than that, I didn't really feel like that was too much.
Yeah, I don't mind lens flare when it's fitting to the scene, So in some of those dance scenes, there's disco lights, there's confetti flying around, and slow motion. So, when it's like two people standing in front of a pond, you don't see, and there's lens flare coming out in the distance. It's like, all right.
Lens flare coming out of the ocean, the water. Yeah, no, I feel you.
I also liked, just talking about the plot and the story. Again, I would have liked to have gotten more background information about the detective, the knockoff Russell Crowe. Like what was his deal? Why was he the way that he was? They give you they tell you a little bit, but when he plays such a pivotal role in the movie, I would have liked to have known a little bit more about him. But that being said, I did like how his story unfolded, with him being, the hunter trying to, capture this guy so desperately, to actually capturing him and then having him escape right, out of his fingertips, to then him losing his job. We don't know what he was doing at that point. Was he a private detective or just a bum? I don't know. But then, yeah, he ends up playing a major role in actually helping with that final escape. So I like that.
This is the Polish version of U.S. Marshals.
Oh boy, I think I maybe saw that once a long time
such a
ago.
good movie.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. The best part, Harrison Ford, he goes, I didn't kill my wife.
That's
Tommy
The Fugitive.
Goes, I don't care. No, that's a U.S.
No,
Marshals.
no. U.S. Marshals are chasing Wesley Snipes.
Oh,
It's a
Wesley
sequel.
Snipes. My bad.
That's
My bad.
actually
My bad.
like
Yeah. That's
somewhat.
okay. I got it wrong then. I got it wrong.
It's not quite a sequel, but I think it. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones is still in that one, right?
Yeah. So he plays the same character. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I've definitely seen The Fugitive. So what's that line again?
Oh no, he just straight up goes, I don't care.
I didn't do it. I don't care.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. That's such a great line.
It's that damn scene.
It sounds like you should care.
Well, no, because he has one job to go get him. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all he needs to do. So that's why he's like, I don't care what you did. Like,
Yeah.
my job is get you.
Yeah.
But it was just delivered very well.
That's a good throwback. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to hit on with this one?
The music I loved in this movie. Like it served to me, it served it very well. It was like an old school noir but modernized
Yeah.
music, and I was digging it. That's what I can tell you.
Again, and of course, I mean it's a foreign film. There's dubbing and all that, but yeah, for me, something with the audio and the music track was a little bit off. It sounded like to me. So yeah, I think I enjoyed the music in it, but I don't know. It kind of like sounded distant, or sounded like separate, or maybe it just wasn't mixed very well, or something with the dubbing. But it was actually, it was just noticeable, right? And usually you want that stuff to be pretty seamless.
Yeah.
But maybe it was just me though. I have
You know what
excellent speakers.
you know what I like, Juan? I like how you say, you know what, I agree, I like the music, but here's why I didn't. That cracks me up.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I guess I was just trying. I mean, I maybe I wanted to like it. I don't remember it too much, but I did, I guess, notice. So, yeah, maybe it was kind of unremarkable to me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because I was thinking about the music, and I was just like, I don't remember it being that like. It didn't really stand out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess could be viewed as a good thing, but yeah, I mean,
But I will say I just finished watching it not this afternoon, so it's fresh in my head.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just remember thinking like this music's really it really accents the scenes that they're in.
Yeah. A couple things again that I also really liked was, they show you that first escape in real time, but they don't show you how it happened. But I appreciated that. Then later on, so that was
What a good intro.
yeah, and it was a pre was I forget what the word here, but it was something that they showed again later, right? But showed the full thing so that
Foreshadowing.
Yes, yeah, I think it is foreshadowing.
Not really, because
right.
Foreshadowing, like,
Yeah.
it hints at something. This was straight up the scene.
Yeah,
It just didn't show all of it.
It was like a tease. It was like a tease because it showed you a little bit, but so I actually appreciated how they did that. That was cool. And then I think what first made me like the character a lot was the scene where he's trying to get the movie posters, which is how he goes into the supermarkets, and for whatever reason he had to watch the movie in order to then be able to receive the posters. And
I think because she was saying that was a rule, or I felt like she was just giving him a hard time.
Yeah, okay. So he ended up having to buy 10 tickets so that he could see the movie in the theater by himself. And then
no, I remember now. She said, he asked, okay, I bought a ticket. When's the next scheduled movie? She said, we can't schedule movies until 10 tickets are sold.
Yeah.
So he bought 10 tickets. So
yeah, but like even after he bought them, you would think she would just give him the posters, but she was like making him watch it anyway.
Yeah, you have to watch the movie to get the poster.
Yeah, I feel like at that point she was just giving him a hard time because he was, being weird about it.
Okay. Well, yeah, when she walked into the theater to give him the posters, and he like is really he's got a bucket of popcorn and he's like really enjoying the movie there by himself, and he like turns around and gives her a thumbs up. Yeah, that was I think the first thing that made me like him. And then, do you think that movie he was watching was like what Polish cinema was like in the 80s? Because
that's what I actually think that was an old Polish movie from the 80s.
Yeah, it had to have been.
That's the vibe I got.
In some ways, it was kind of impressive. In other ways, it was like, whoa, this is like cardboard and like painted this monster is like painted cardboard,
Yeah.
paper mache. Oh, not is it? Yeah, paper mache.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting.
But yeah,
I have nothing else, unfortunately. I This movie started off, cute and quirky, with the cool shots, and then it ended, that scene with him walking through the club with the flashing lights, and then he goes in through that neon room and his head's all lit up. The antagonist I'm talking about. That was a cool scene, but it felt completely different from what I was watching at the beginning of the movie. So it was interesting to watch it, unfold, and how the vibe and how it was shot changed.
yeah. Oh
Because I
yeah,
do think that the last part of the movie heavily relied on lighting, because a lot of it was just lights, not even just that scene, but a
yeah.
lot of things was just lights. Which we had kind of flashiness at the beginning,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It felt different. It felt
Yeah.
like a different movie. Maybe
Yeah.
because it got interesting with our friend Antos becoming the bad guy.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, it was in a really dark, I mean, and for me it was a little bit unexpected because again, I mean, you can understand why he became upset that that the king was leaving the biz,
Yeah,
but
The life.
the life, but I mean, you didn't, at least I didn't see that he had this level of darkness in him, where he kind of, I mean, were they skinheads? I think they
yeah. It seemed like the crew he joined. Yeah,
yeah,
they didn't really explain that either. And I guess
yeah,
the guy that showed up at the end was the boss.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's what it
Okay.
seemed. Yeah.
All right,
Uh-huh.
that's what I thought.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
they didn't really explain that. I thought that was like kind of quickly done as well. I
yeah,
get it. He was locked up for 6, 7 years, so obviously time is there for this to, progress. But it was just interesting because we just see this kid who enjoys grifting and doing what he's
yeah,
doing, and then all of a sudden he just throws a fit and he's like super angry. So
yeah,
I,
and
I think what I liked about that character switch is from when he got thrown out and you saw the little glitch. Like
yeah,
he felt kind of angry, but when you
yeah,
see him again as a skinhead, he looked like he felt like he had all this power because he had all these guys behind him and guns. So like when he was like the way he was treating the king's mom and his girlfriend and stuff, he was being such an a-hole because he had all this power
yeah,
until he's confronted by the king in the bathroom and got whacked, and you just see him crumble. You're like, oh, you really are just this kid who's trying to hide and try to be powerful, and that's where all this anger is coming from.
yeah.
Because he got
yeah,
But
hit
it
one
it,
time and
it
went
felt
down like a deck of cards.
Yeah, but it felt like a completely different movie from the
hmm
beginning.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
it was a I think it worked. It kept me invested because, like Kevin said, the ending was a bit lackluster. I took it as he survived, but I also would have liked to have not just seen that, even though it was funny, but that, nub sliding on the table. Because I kind of figured, okay, well, this is a true story. So, yeah, he survived. I get that. And so I kind of wish it didn't give us that little part at the end. So, yeah, I agree with Kevin on that part, the ending.
yeah, and to the character, don't forget too. I mean, during that dark transition, it seemed like he also started doing some heavy drugs,
Yeah.
um, cocaine, making him feel like Superman. But I do and I really, I mean, when I saw the glitch the couple times they did it, I just thought, oh, okay, that's a cool effect. But I'm glad Kevin mentioned it because it enlightened me to realize, like, especially like, oh, he actually is glitching, like
Yeah.
he something's broken in
Yeah.
him at this point, that's lured him all the way into that darkness. So that was cool. One thing I feel like, again, there's car chases in this movie, and so they're already filming them, you know part of, i i, I feel like, when you have an amazing car scene, a car chase in a movie, it's like that alone draws attention. Really the only ones that I can clearly think of are, Bullet, which I've never actually seen, and oh, there's actually two more. There was the Born Identity had like a good chase scene that was also being compared to Bullet, and then I think the Mark Wahlberg one with the
Yeah, talent job.
those are the three that I can think of. But so like if you have a movie like this where it's like it's foreign, but it's very stylistic where that could appeal to like American audiences, plot is a little weak, but you throw in the middle like a
It
freaking
also appeals to Americans.
yeah, you throw like a freaking amazing car chase scene in there, which I don't know, it just doesn't seem to me like that would add that much more production cost, especially if you're already shooting chase scenes. It's like, dude, go balls out and do like the most amazing freaking car chase that you can think of. And that alone should get you tons of attention for your movie, no matter where it's from, I would think. But I don't know.
I do have in my notes. I'm like some interesting choices in this car chase, like
Yeah,
where they had the cameras and stuff.
yeah, it felt a little slow too.
Yeah,
I guess maybe it's supposed to feel like a real car. I feel like that's what a real car chase would be like.
yeah,
Yeah, we doing 120 down the highway,
yeah. Well, I think one of the shots, Kevin, was like there was a lot of shots like from the interior
Yeah.
on the passenger seat pointing up to the driver, and it was like this isn't really exciting.
Yeah.
I think it was leading up to that Lieutenant flipped was kind of cool. Like they went slow mo and then the king saved him and then proves that no good deed goes unpunished and gets caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. But then he did scratch his back later on.
This is true.
All right, Mark. I am on pins and needles here. Ultimately, what your little Jerry's rating is for this movie.
This movie, The Getaway King, had a lot. I won't say a lot. I'm going to start using better words when I describe. This movie had a couple.
What kind of thesaurus you got there? That's a good one.
The ones you buy from stores, of course. There were no, there's some scenes that will stick out to me, and I'm not a pervert, but that sex scene would be one, and only because of the way it was shot. I've never seen anything like that before, so that's why it was not because I got to see some boobies. I can see those whenever I want. So it was cool how they did that. So they took a normal scene that we are now having shoveled down our throat in every TV show and movie, but at least they made it interesting. Outside of that, the story it's okay. Nothing to call home about. The transition from, this fun, campy movie to now trying to escape this guy who's twisted was pretty cool to watch, and it worked. It did work. And I noticed, like, I felt that it was a different movie. So I feel like with that, they did a good job portraying what they wanted to portray. But I got to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to watch this again. I might recommend it, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But I think I'm just going to have to give it I hate to do it, but I'm going to give it a 1. This is a 1 and done for me. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. I could go without it. So yeah, that's what I'm sticking with, unfortunately.
That's fair. That's your opinion, and you're free to have it.
Thanks, man.
For me, kind of, I have similar feelings. I definitely want to go back and watch that reenactment of that first escape again.
Memorable scene.
especially when it's like a puppet being thrown out.
Oh, that's the best
Of,
part. That's the best part.
it's amazing because I really feel like that's in the 80s. Like that's probably very similar to what the actual reenactment was. It
Yes,
was
100%.
incredible. Like I
I would not be surprised if they found that reenactment that was already done and they just did it again
yeah.
and fitted it to their movie
Yeah,
because it was so
dude.
perfect.
And like actually, I was really hoping that like that they would have done more of those, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
done like a Michelle Gondry thing,
yeah,
where it's like each one slightly different, a different
yeah,
creative take on it, because it was the funniest part of the movie, like by far.
yeah.
It was great.
And the laughs the laughs that the movie gave were really good laughs. I mean,
Yeah,
they were. I wasn't forcing out a laugh. I wasn't doing a half, smirk.
yeah,
I was actually laughing.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there wasn't enough in the arc, in the narrative, and the story and the plot to actually bring me to come back and watch it again. But I certainly give them credit. I mean, I would say they made a good movie. It certainly would give me hope for this director, next time, if there is a next time. But
Not after I'm done with them.
but yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was a fun, it was a fun time to sit through, and like you said, it definitely perked up when that bad guy came into the scene, and things definitely got turned up to 11 at that point, the tension and whatnot. But it didn't quite deliver. But I'm feeling generous,
Oh,
and
oh,
just fair. I think, for me it's a 2. It is a 2, and probably the most accurate 2 I've ever given, because it is exactly like a nah. It is exactly that for me. So
I'm gonna ask you, hey Juan, you gonna watch the Getaway King? Meh.
yeah. Mhm.
All right. So I didn't mention this also, but apparently it's only to me that the main guy, he just reminds me of a Polish Pedro Pascal. Like
Mm.
that's all I kept remember when I kept watching him. I'm like, so then I wanted to see how close he was to the real guy. So I looked him up. That dude looks like my dad in the 80s. The real guy. I was like, well, look at you looking like a Colombian. But I did I did like a lot of it. And even though I said it was a gratuitous sex scene, it was very artistic. It wasn't I just said gratuitous because it was just thrown in there and like it didn't feel earned. I'm like, hey, now we're having a sex scene. But it was well done. I do like what Juan said, it was different than what we get from what we expect from Hollywood and stuff like that. Maybe not as polished, but I think I actually enjoyed the part that wasn't actually, like it just seemed different, and that was actually enjoyable for me. Um, I I mark it down because again, to me, the ending didn't stick very well. So I ultimately will tell people, you know what, if you're really into visuals and an okay story, like watch this movie because it's worth watching. It's fun. It's the director. I think it was his first movie, and I think he did an admirable job. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 2. I may not watch it again on my own, but I would say yeah, check it out if you want to see something that's really like it's some eye candy with some story that's not horrible and some laughs. But it's nothing like y'all said. I'm gonna go out of my way to watch again.
Yeah.
Man,
Um,
this movie stumped Kevin because he didn't do a decimal point.
I debated doing it, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going straight to.
what did you get? Oh, so 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, when we started this podcast, I had no idea we would be spanning the globe the way that we have. This is a Polish movie. We've watched a Swedish movie. We've watched a Asian
Hollywood movie.
Asian movie, a Tollywood movie. So I don't think it's winning us any audience any audience members.
Far too many musicals.
But yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised, and I will say, like, it makes me kind of probably realize that I don't watch enough foreign films, but I have been impressed. They're different than what we're used to. They don't always, hit the bullseyes that we expect them to hit, but they're doing a lot of great things. And at this point, I mean, um, Hollywood is in large part, a dog going back to lick its own vomit. Like they just keep going back to the same stuff. So a lot of this is fresh takes, more original in some ways. So it is a breath of fresh air, even while we can criticize and say, they still got a little ways to go, but you don't doubt that they're gonna get there. So cool. Good
Hey
stuff.
man, I don't care if you think no one's listening, bro. We do this for us because
Yes.
we best friends that like movies.
We do it for an audience of 3.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but I'm egotistic, Mark. I need people to hear my opinions.
Oh my god. Fair
All
enough.
right.
I respect that.
Ultimately,
Now-
yeah.
By the way, I know you like your Closerooski ending, but what a great closing line for the podcast. Just to end it on, now's not the time for talking. Just close it on that.
No, because then that means that we're gonna go have sex with each other.
Hey, is that off the table?
That's
It's
how
off
it
the
was in the movie.
It's the time for kissing.
It's the time for kissing.
There you go. I prefer that.
Close on.
Mouth open.
All right, gents. You both have yourselves a lovely evening. I hope you have restful sleep.
Love you.
Love you.
Have a great one.